Welcome to Foxhole Symphony, a podcast about the transformational value of men in authentic community.
In our Foxhole, men are equipped to build relationships that foster belonging, accountability, and growth.
Stop believing the lie that you can thrive in isolation and instead
join us on the journey from broken to whole.
Hello, everyone. They call me the Maestro, and we are back in the Foxhole where we actively pursue belonging, accountability, and growth through authentic relationships. No masks, no agendas, just iron sharpening iron. Today, Mark and Steve are diving headfirst into the deep end of the Foxhole. Don't worry, I'm confident they're going to be okay because they maintain all the standard rations found in every respectable foxhole. Salami and Italian pastries. Who needs a life jacket when you got a good cannoli, am I right? Settle into your comfy chair, pop open that notes app that you like to use, and let's listen in.
Hey, welcome back to the Foxhole Symphony podcast. I'm Mark, and you are
Sarge!
Hey, how about that? It's a beautiful day only because we're here, because it's a crappy, cloudy day.
Sure is.
Out there, right? What I wanted to talk to you about today was something you know a lot about. So this should be easy.
Oh, is it salami?
No.
Sausage?
No.
Oh.
No. Schweiadel?
Schweiadel?
No.
Pasta chote?
No. You got me. I'm just...
Top 5 pastries right now, before we get started. Top 5 pastries.
Nabili Dan.
Huh.
Schweiadel. Pignoli.
Oh,
Pignoli cookies.
I love pignoli. It's the almond paste.
Right.
Oh, so good. I could eat it out of the tube.
What's the perfumey layer?
Oh, the little rainbow
profiteroles.
Yeah. Oh, profiteroles. Okay,
Right.
profiteroles.
That's 4. Come on.
And no,
the first 2 I would never leave.
no pasta chote.
Yeah, that's fine.
That's
Yeah.
fine.
Yeah.
Oh, the pasta chote for me is way up there.
Really?
It's like number 2. If you get it with the right cheese, with the pot cheese, not the custard. I don't want a custard pasta chote. It's very hard to find, but if you find it with the ricotta, with the pot cheese in it, it's sweet cheese. It is so good. So good.
Huh.
Yeah.
I may have just had custard ones because I'm thinking how creamy.
Yeah, no. This is cheese.
Pot cheese is curdy.
Yeah. It's almost like a ricotta cheesecake, but it's with it's like a little pie, you know. I mean, it's like a little. Mm-hmm. I know where we can get them. I know where we could get them
because it makes me think of the pastis de note is in Belgium, not Belgium, in Portugal.
Yes,
those little custard.
Yeah, the little postres. Yeah,
oh my God. Belém. You go to Belém. Oh, I went there. Yeah. So
okay,
you've totally.
Something. Well, you said something I know a lot about, and so my head went right to pastries.
All right, I'm going to keep this in. So actually, I wanted to talk to you about the perfect husband.
Oh, sure. I know everything about that.
I think you do.
Okay.
I think you know more than you know.
Well, let's see about that.
So
Christina, get on the line.
Right.
She'll tell you.
Well, and that's
maybe you're going a different direction.
I'm not.
Okay.
I'm actually don't know exactly what direction I'm going, but God put this on my heart in a devotional a few weeks ago, where he was talking about the perfect husband of the church, God. The Hebrew word for husband is ish, I-S-H, ish. Mm-hmm. So get your ish on.
Okay.
Right. And in that devotional, it talked a lot about the words in the Bible, how God was treating the church as not only father, but husband to the church. It also talks about Jesus as when he called himself the Son of Man and husband and shepherd for the church. And then he had disciples who he made fathers of the local church that was starting at the time. In doing all of that thinking, it just made me think about my husbandness, my husbandry, how I act and what I do in terms of my day-to-day activity being so tied to what I'm getting done on my list and what we are called to be as good husbands. Because we talk about community all the time here. Mm-hmm. It's what you and I do, right? This is a podcast about men in authentic community. Mm-hmm. Well, obviously, one of the most important communities, if not the most important in our lives, is that in our home. And it begins with our relationship with our wives and our role as husbands. Because I don't know about you, often our prayers are, dear Lord, make me a better father, brother, husband, coworker, friend, etc. And husband is always in there. But can you imagine a more important role that you and I have? I'm totally tongue in cheek about the perfect husband, but the attributes that this devotional spoke about and why God was the perfect husband, because he was perfectly loving, forgiving, and faithful. Loving, forgiving, and faithful. And it made me do a gut check, an inventory of myself as it relates to my sweetheart, Maria. And how am I doing in the loving department, in the forgiving department, in the faithful department, right? I mean, let me start with number one. I'm faithful. Now, I'm not faithful in my head all the time, but I am totally devoted and dedicated to my wife. Yet, I can think about, my thoughts, the things that don't come out of my mouth yet in frustration, some of the thoughts I have, which I'm sure adulterate my marriage, right? It's just, that's not how you're supposed to be thinking about your wife.
Right.
And God gave me Maria. I know I'm with the right woman.
Yeah.
I know it. So faithful seemed to be one that on introspection, I can get my brain around that. I'm faithful to my wife, by any social measure. But forgiving and loving, I just started going through the list. So that's where I am. I'm thinking about trying to relate my life as a husband to God's and his call to the church and what he is for our church. And we just talked about this Thursday night at V2G, but remember I brought up faithful love in the Old Testament?
Yes. Right? Faithful. Yes. Faithful love. Faithful love.
Exactly. There are so many verses that talk about God's faithful love for them. And that was a cry from the Hebrews, of the time in my reading. And I can so relate to needing that. So I think this will be an interesting meander through the grass.
I love it. I mean, this is, some of my favorite Bible passages. Christina and I for many years have done marriage mentoring and had the privilege of marrying a number of couples. And Ephesians 5, right, talks a lot about marriage and I always loved the part, especially as we talk to couples and young couples that are maybe more egalitarian and less traditional, right? Like as far as their roles go, This is often a big conversation. Well, what do you mean the husband is the head of the house, right? Like, and I remember the Arthurs come to mind, Dawn Arthur's dad, mom and dad sat on stage at church. They were dear missionaries. And they, I remember her mom saying, yes, my husband is the head. And if he's the head, I'm the neck. Right. And my wife to this day, I mean, this is many years ago. My wife to this day reminds me that she's the neck and the head can't turn without it. Right. But it's true. It's true. And it's biblical, right? It's like, yes. And it says Ephesians 5:25-29, husbands, love your wives as Christ loved the church and gave himself up for her. Utter surrender, sacrificial death,
crucifixion,
right? That he might sanctify her. And it goes on, right? So that he may present the church to himself in splendor. And so I just love that because when it comes to husbandry, like, I think the machismo or the world's view of a man or a husband, or even within the church traditionally, right? It's like, oh no, well, what he says, go, it's like, well, hang on a second. Like, yes, we are called to love and lead our families and so sacrificially, right? So anyway, I love that. I love that picture. And I'm always reminding myself, when my pride or ego or my, maleness creeps up and gets in the way and becomes an obstacle, that, Jesus was on a cross.
Have you ever apologized to Christina?
Oh God, yes.
Right.
Absolutely. As well as my children. It's one of the, and again, I think that's something that, I say God, yeah. Like, it's not like I'm like, oh, I'm sorry here. I'm sorry there. I'm sorry. It's like when you have your, a child and they just keep saying, I'm sorry. And, I remember, when I used to coach. Yeah. Or right. Why? Yeah. Why are you sorry? Right. Or
why?
I'm sorry means you won't do it again. Right. So, it's
not necessarily.
Not necessarily.
Right.
Yeah. Right.
Well, I asked, it was a rhetorical question, but I asked because I know you have that awareness. And I think of myself, I apologized, but I don't apologize well. I can tell you, I don't.
So what does it look like? How do you apologize unwell?
It's often a judgmental apology. It's an apology with edges.
Okay.
It's an apology with blame. It's an apology with, I'll own mine if you own yours.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, yes.
And so this is some of the thought process I've had since reading this devotional. And I have to be honest, just to say this on a global scale, this is one of the things that's now caught in my head that I could really do without. Mm-hmm. Do you ever just like get something gets planted and like, I don't need this right now.
Yeah. And God's like, yes, you do.
Right. That's exactly it. And so I've
in fact, you need it right now.
And that is probably more true. We're in a phase or a season in our lives right now where there's a lot of stress in our house.
Yeah.
And we all need more grace and mercy, grace and mercy. It's why I talked about a few minutes, maybe a podcast ago, about taking refuge in the Lord.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's good to hunker down and take refuge in my nest, in my home with my wife and son and, and the dog.
Yeah.
But it's short-lived victory there, but I've got to take refuge in God.
Yeah.
What were you going to say?
I was going to say that, the other thing that we've come to really learn and understand is that we're in a culture of what they call the me marriage, right? Like, so if you haven't heard this, it's all about me, right? So like, I'll get married, but I need to know this is going to work for me. I mean, this is from both sides, husband and, the man and the woman as we marriage mentor. And it's like, well, I need to know that this works for me. It's why we want to live together. I need to know it's all about my needs. If my needs are met, then this will work. Well, actually your needs are not going to be met. So Christine and I sit there and go, yeah, we can attest to the fact that like, if that's the approach, we would strongly discourage you from getting married because it's not going to work that way. He's not going to meet all your needs.
That's almost a wrecking ball.
She's not going to meet all your needs. Like we can promise you that. And so starting out there, if you're looking to the other person to meet your need, as we know, but this is sort of that we're in the age of the me marriage. That's what it's all about. That's how, this younger generation is often, not across the board, but often looking at marriage is, if it works for me. In fact, they're even approaching it from a financial perspective, saying like, well, we're getting married because we can do more financially together than we can apart. Have you heard this? This is a big thing. This is a big thing happening. Like they don't even love each other. It's actually about financial freedom. And that if we get married, there's some things that we can do.
I'm familiar with dinks, the whole concept.
Yes.
But
anyway, so again, it's this very anti-biblical approach to God's design for marriage, which is let's acknowledge right up front that we're not going to be able to meet each other's needs. And the only one that can meet our needs is him. So as we look to him and come to the foot of the cross, it actually brings us together at the foot of the cross. And that's where we come together, right? And find intimacy and connection.
Can I go to confession?
Sure. Oh, you mean right here?
Right now.
Yeah.
It took me 60 years of life on earth to realize that Maria wasn't responsible for meeting my needs.
Yeah.
The first time I can honestly recall thinking, why am I putting this burden on her? Was in the last few years.
How much of that do you think is tied up in the fact that you are a need meter? Like you love and enjoy meeting the needs of others, action oriented. And you're like, well, I meet the needs of others. So, and therefore it's quid pro quo, right?
And I am the quid pro quo kid. I am, unfortunately it's a sin and it's something I carry around, but I don't expect you to loan me the money back, but it wouldn't break my heart, that kind of thing.
Yeah. Yeah. Listen, it is, it's tough. It's tough because, what is it? And the reason it's tough is because we have so many needs, physical needs, emotional needs, psychological needs, spiritual needs. And so much of this is tied up in our heart posture, which is why, like, our spouse, in humanity, like, we're just never going to be the people to meet people's heart needs, real heart needs. We're not.
No.
Only God can do that. And so, therein lies the challenge, right? As we focus on the sort of immediate, the surface level needs, but like our real, what's at the root of all of that, only God can. So they're all Band-Aids is what I'm saying. They're all Band-Aids, right? And none of it actually meets the real need that we have.
No. And in my immaturity, there was a time in my life where I got so twisted up in my quid pro quo that in several relationships in my life, I actually felt, I can tell you, I remember feeling, I'm going to do so much for you that you're going to be so overwhelmed. It'll be impossible for you not to do something nice for me or scratch my back or rub my neck or, whatever. I'm just going to, you're going to feel so guilty in my doingness that you're just going to turn around and do for me.
Yeah.
And that's how twisted.
Yeah. So
and selfish I got.
Mine's a little different. Mine is a little bit from the opposite perspective. Like, I don't want anybody meeting my needs.
Oh.
I'm not worthy. I don't want, and so like the guilt, like if someone does something for me, I have to return it. Like I cannot be left. So hard for me to receive a gift, so hard for me to just be served, so hard for me to just receive, right? Like, says a lot about who we are, says a lot about our woundedness, says a lot about our, like, so, I won't allow people to do it.
Wow. That is 180 off of my, now I will say, I said in my immaturity, I don't know if I'm going to be mature till I get to heaven. I'd like to be seen and known for making mature decisions, yet I feel so strongly that God gave me a childlike heart. If that makes any sense at all.
It does. Only because I know it and I see it.
Yeah. So I'm okay. And I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
So it's more of a perception thing because look, I would love for the judges to hold up 10s on the loving, faithful, and forgiving, right? Mark, 10, the Olympic judges.
I love it. Are they in the pearly gates?
They are.
Oh, that's awesome.
Mark.
Yeah. Oh, goodness.
Loving, faithful, forgiving.
I'm seeing 6s and 4s.
I would just say, I would love to see that.
Yeah. Not for you, for me. I mean,
I got it. Yeah. But
I would be like this, have my...
There you go. Right. Yeah. Who's that over there with the Giants cap? Let him in. He's good. It's Rocket Sarge. So I'm trying to confess that while I have my perception, my self-perception is someone who's worthy.
Yeah.
At the same time, I know I'm a work in progress. I know I have work to do to be the best version of myself for Maria.
Yeah.
And I take that very seriously now and have for some time. Well, if she was here, she would tell you how broken I am.
Yeah.
And I'm sure she could cite chapter and verse of where I fall short. My hope is that she would say that I've improved in the areas of being loving and forgiving.
Yeah.
And trying to have a different lens of how I look at it.
It's just interesting, because we do, obviously our heart's desire, ours, is to be the perfect husband and, and I'm sure our wives want to be the perfect wives, right? And there's no such thing, other than God himself, right? And so, there's this tension. It's like, it doesn't let us off the hook that we'll never achieve it, right? But it does require a certain humility. It says, like, I will never be the perfect husband for you, darling, but I'll die trying. I will die trying, and this journey, if I'm not becoming more and more and more like the perfect husband every year, right? Like, as we look back over time, then we've got a real problem. I've got a real problem.
And that perfect husband you're referring to is Jesus.
100%.
Right.
So again, the loving, forgiving, faithful, if I'm going backwards, I'm as you know, I'm a part of a forum of Christian CEOs, and I just love this group. And I'm presenting next week on my business. And you could present on the business, you could present on personal, but in advance of that, the group interviews key people who can speak, very openly and knowledgeably about me, right? About you. So you have to identify these people, and they always add in the spouse. If he or she is willing, they want to interview the spouse. And so I identified 3 key people at work, and Christina, in which she obliged. And oh man, like I've got, I'm going next there. Like, I don't even know what I'm going to get hit with.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Oh yeah. No, I'm not there. It's like here, I've seen the questions and I kind of have a guess of where this might go.
Okay.
But the beauty, like, I'm so thankful because what a tremendous opportunity. And many of the questions related to the spouse are, how would you rate your marriage? Like, rate it on a scale. And why would you give it that rating? And is it improving or is it declining? Like, where would you have rated it, in relation to a year ago or 5 years ago? And what are some of your greatest needs? What are your hopes and dreams? Like, some amazing stuff that, as a third party facilitator, some people to come in and ask my wife these questions and report back to me. It's going to be interesting. I'm so excited, actually, but I'm
scared to death.
Yeah, it's a little scary.
I don't want to be you.
It's a little scary.
Yeah.
It's a little scary, but
that's you. That's
exactly.
right up your
Look,
alley.
I love that. So, again, like I just bring that up because there's a humility and a transparency. And again, not that Christina and I can't have those conversations together, and we do, but I mean, many of these questions I've never asked them that way, so pointedly. So it's going to be interesting.
It sure will. So let's talk practically for a few minutes and not beat it to death, but have some fun with this. What are some practical ways, things that you've learned that you might share with our listeners that help you when you think about being more like Jesus, loving, faithful, and forgiving? What are some practical things you've learned work and don't work in your life, in your marriage, in your relationships?
Yeah.
Because the perfect husband, we can just leave it at husband and wife, but you can take that life metaphor and quickly put it at work.
Well, one of the things that we've done that has been really life-changing, truly life-changing, is some temperament assessments, which I think I may have talked to you about. I'm not sure, but we did some temperament assessments, which I use at work, and we now recommend to other couples. But we were marriage mentoring a couple and who was preparing to get married, and I had them do the temperament, and I was like, Christine, we should do that. Like, I've done mine, but you do yours. And it was amazing what we discovered about each other, and what was born out of that was, oh my gosh, like, these frustrations are born out of this, our wiring, and how we see the things that hurt us that are so unintentional. And so there's one that we use that Andy Stanley promotes. It's called I Said You Heard. So if you search I Said You Heard, that's the ministry and the organization, Temperament. It's like $10 or something for temperaments. Highly recommend it for couples, and unpack it and talk about it. And so these are things that really helped. I'll give you an example. Here's a concrete example.
Please do.
One of the things that has always driven me crazy in my marriage for many years and has been really hurtful was what I perceived to be a lack of enthusiasm for things that I would dream up. I'm a dreamer. I'm a act, as you know, right? Like, let's go do this. Hey, how about that? Let's go here. And there's this enthusiasm and passion. And my wife's just very steady. And she would be like, yeah, I mean, that sounds good.
Meh.
And I'm like, sounds good. Where are the pom-poms? Like, where are the fireworks? What do you mean?
This is a great idea.
Yeah.
How can you
And I'd be
not
like,
see
okay,
it?
well then should we do that? yeah, that's fine too. Fine. Now for years I'd be like, my God, like I get excited about anything. And the truth is my wife's just very content. And I've learned that over the years. She's just content. I'm not. Like I have needs in that area, right?
Yeah.
So, adrenaline needs, like, so, but what I realized, like these are things that would hurt me when she would say like, I don't care. I would hear that as she really doesn't give a crap. And what she means is she would be happy doing anything with me. Two very different things.
Sure.
And it's born out of her wiring, out of her temperament that I could not see, understand, nor embrace. And the reverse is true, right? My enthusiasm, my need for this and that and all this content, like it's, she would say is erratic and dramatic, and which I am, right? And would drive her crazy. Like, can't you just be content with whatever? And so these are things that like, and we've learned that the words we use, what we actually communicate, for her saying, I don't care versus saying, I would be happy doing anything with you. Whoa, well, that's life-giving. That fills my heart if she says to me, I would be happy to do anything with you versus I don't care what we do. And I hear that as I don't even want to be with you. So highly recommended. That's just one practical thing that has dramatically changed our marriage.
It scares me.
It's hard stuff.
I want to do it.
It's hard stuff because there's heart work in it. There's heart work in it, and
not hard,
heart. Yeah. And so anyway, and that's
probably
not
hard too. Yeah.
And just so you know, though, I mean, Christina's not really, she doesn't love to do that kind of, like, I'm a heart work guy. I'm a heart on your sleeve. I'm the emotional one in the relationship, as you know, she's not, so, but like she embraced this process and actually loved it. We learned about it ourselves. We learned about each other.
All right. I'll take it. So thank you. That's more than anything what I wanted to do, thinking about those moments that pass us by, that we have a chance to grow closer to our wives and men, and whether you have a wife or a significant other, it doesn't matter. I would say there's certainly a biblical foundation for a conversation about us being more loving, being more forgiving, being more faithful. But this quest that we're on, these are goals that we have as men in marriages that, if you look back at the beginning of my marriage and say, well, why did you get married? And well, it wasn't because I wanted to be the most faithful, forgiving, loving. That wasn't even on my radar at the time.
Yeah.
30 years ago.
Sure.
When I got married, or 28 years ago when I got married. But now so much of my reading is biblical, whether it's in the Bible or suggested by the Bible.
Yeah.
I want to improve. I do. I want to be. When I pray about being a better dad, a better husband, father, brother, friend, coworker, etc., I mean it.
Yeah.
I would love, another confession. I would love to imagine people at my funeral saying, like he.
Yeah. Are you willing to see those things that maybe might be really hard to see?
No.
I appreciate the honesty.
Yes, I'm prepared. I have said in my family setting now for a couple of years that I know that we'll be talking to smart people about some of the stresses and anxieties in our life, and I'm willing to put my crap out.
Yeah.
There. Whatever needs to come out and whatever admissions need to happen, I will own.
Yeah.
So I am willing to own my crap.
Okay. Yeah. Because I do think that I mean, that's just a critical, right? Like blind spots. I mean, we talked about it, at work and all of that. But, when you're talking now, it's hitting real close to home, right? Talk about marriage and you say like, okay, hit me hard. Hit me hard. And that's what I said to Christina. I said, listen, these are trusted brothers. These people you're going to be talking to, like I hold nothing back. Like hit me hard. I want to know.
C12?
Yeah. That interview. So we'll see. And, I don't think there's that much there, to be honest with you. Like thankfully, because we've come so far, but I do know that my stress, it's going to be all about stress because I wear it and she feels it. She's very empathetic. So that's what it'll be about. But
it'll be great.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. It will be. And they even invited her. She's invited to come for the presentation, which I don't think she can, unfortunately. But so, yeah, but I do think it does. It requires a willingness to see and receive and accept and work on our blind spots, our crap that others see. That again, it's a blind spot. It's like, are we willing to accept the fact that this is what others see in us, even though we don't see it ourselves? That's tough.
It is. And what I was saying before is I would be more specific in my confession. I would love for you to show up at my funeral and say, Mark was on a journey trying to get better at this. He was invested in being a better brother, father, husband,
and bro, you are.
See that?
And you have been.
It's not even my funeral yet.
100%. Yeah, of course. You have been. This is the journey we're on, man, and you've been on, and especially we've been on in the last 5 or 6 years, right? I mean, especially in the last few years where I don't know why that is. Maybe it took that long for God to get us to this point, but I think we're pretty surrendered.
And it's so fruitful.
Yeah.
I mean, it some of it is bearing fruit on this podcast, but in our lives.
Oh my gosh.
It's beautiful.
Yeah. Cause like I said before, God can get started now. Yeah, God can get started. He's like, okay, now we can get started, right? Now that you guys are done trying to do this all in your own strength.
So I'll close with reminding anyone who's listening that God is worthy of you taking refuge in him. Just like it says in Psalm 34 today. I don't remember the exact verse. I think it's 8. But rejoice in the Lord for those who take refuge in him. So that's what I got, bro. It's great talking to you again.
I love it. You too. Yeah.
The perfect husband.
Husbands, love your wives. I love it. That's going to be on my mind for a while. I really do. Yeah. Loving, forgiving, faithful. If that doesn't sum it up. And certainly our dear and loving God has given us the model for that. So may we be the best husbands we can be, and may our wives look to him to fill the gaps, because we'll screw it up.
And you can hold me accountable to that.
Okay.
I'm ready for you to ask me what steps I don't want to just say I'm getting better at this.
Yeah.
I don't want you to just, because you love me, say, I watched Mark on this journey.
Yeah.
I want you to see it.
Yeah.
And we've agreed to be accountable to that. So I am.
Okay.
All right.
Love you, bro.
Have a great day.
You too.
Peace.
Wow, there were so many things for me to consider while listening to the guys talk through being the perfect husband. For me, this summary is pretty straightforward. God is the only perfect anything, and me and you, we're not God. However, we strive to live our lives in a way that glorifies God. So that means I have to actively participate in sacrificially loving my wife, his daughter, just as Jesus did for his bride, the church. A few things that I have to consider after listening to this episode. Are me and my wife making time to have meaningful conversations, sharing our hearts with each other? Are we ready to start using some of those tools the guys talked about to start doing some of that heart work? Am I depending on my wife to make me happy? Is she depending on me to make her happy? What does that look like? And what do we have to change? What do we have to do more of? Lord, please continue to use this podcast to impact the lives of all who listen. I ask that you would bring hope and healing to each and every one of them, Lord. Meet them right where they are and reveal yourself to them like only you can do. In Jesus' name, amen.
If you enjoyed today's episode, please share it and invite others to the Foxhole. You can find us wherever you download your favorite podcast. Be sure to subscribe so you know when new episodes drop, and please rate us and comment there too, as it'll help us get found by others who could benefit. Find, follow, and like us on your go-to social media networks by searching Foxhole Symphony, or visit foxholesymphony.com to make it super easy to find us. Drop us a line with feedback, questions, topic requests, who knows? Maybe you'll be a guest on a future episode. In the meantime, prepare to move, embrace discomfort, and just be you.